Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines legalizes marijuana for medicinal purposes. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Wednesday became the first OECS country to decriminalize marijuana for medical purposes and scientific research. Now, Agriculture Minister Saboto Caesar said the passing of the bill in Parliament on Tuesday has positioned the island to become a globally leading medicinal cannabis hub for production and research. He said the move was carefully planned over a long period in consultation with the agricultural sector and different stakeholders. Now, traditional cultivator stakeholders and others have joined the government in Kingstown in celebrating the passage of the bill. Government now looks to focus on implementing the legal framework for the production of medical marijuana. St. Kitts and Nevis opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas has filed a motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, whom he says presents a clear and present danger to the Twin Island Federation. Now, in the motion, which was sent to the clerk of the National Assembly, Sonia Boddy Thompson, yesterday, Douglas also alleges that Harris's activities have belittled and denigrated the esteemed office of the Prime Minister and tarnished the good name and standing of the country regionally and internationally. Now, Douglas is calling on legislators to support the motion and ensure the immediate resignation of Harris, who led his coalition team Unity grouping into office in the February 16, 2015 general election. Now, in the motion, Douglas claims that since being sworn into office, Harris has governed St. Kitts and Nevis in a manner that has seen a rapid erosion of the democratic and good governance standards that are enshrined in the Constitution. And he says the rights, liberties, and democratic interests of citizens are being trampled upon through methods reminiscent of a full-blown dictatorship. Now, the leader of the main opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party has listed several other allegations in the motion, including the Prime Minister's refusal to consent to the publication of the International Monetary Fund's country surveillance report, which Douglas says denies citizens their right to the information contained in that document. The Jamaica government Tuesday night failed to get support to extend the states of emergency in place since earlier this year after opposition legislators voted against the measure. Now, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips told Parliament that the island does not need a state of emergency to feel safe. The ruling Jamaica Labour Party government needed a two-thirds majority to give effect to a 3-month extension. But while all 33 government legislators voted in favor, the 20 opposition MPs voted against. Now, during his contribution, Prime Minister Andrew Holness had pleaded with the opposition to support the crime-fighting initiative, identifying a 20% reduction in murders island-wide and 70% in some areas like Montego Bay as among the positive results. Still in Jamaica now, people who knowingly infect others with HIV could face criminal prosecution if the government accepts the recommendations of a parliamentary committee set up to review several pieces of legislation. The Joint Select Committee chaired by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck acknowledged that there was a deficiency in the law in relation to the deliberate spreading of HIV and other sexually transmitted diseases. It noted that such an offense exists in other jurisdictions such as Canada and the United Kingdom, and the Offences Against the Person Act should be amended to make it a criminal offense for someone to willfully or recklessly infect a partner with a sexually transmitted disease which can inflict serious bodily harm. But the Parliamentary Committee has decided against making any recommendations to change the laws relating to forced anal sex and incest for fear of inadvertently overturning buggery laws. The Bahamian Senate has passed a raft of financial services bills aimed at protecting the country from being blacklisted by the European Union. Attorney General Carl Bessel explained to lawmakers the importance of the new laws to the banking industry.
We all feel the burden of the changes that are required, but we are resolute in this regard, that we are doing the very best that we can in the very trying circumstances that confront us to do as much as we can to preserve the viability and integrity of the financial services sector. It will be a challenge, but we can first survive, then compete, and then succeed. We are, it is the Bahamas. We know how to do a job, and we know how to do it well.
But opposition senators opposed the bills. Senator Michael Darville said he was concerned about the way the legislation was drafted and the lack of consultation with civil society. And Senator Fred Mitchell added that Caribbean countries will eventually have to stand up to the European Union because they keep shifting the goalpost.
The big question is, what is our competitors doing in the region, and how did they address the regulatory issues outlined by the OECD and the EU without being blacklisted? The question is, how were they able to comply and meet the international obligations without over-regulating the jurisdiction?
Every time we try to make a way for ourselves, you come with this false moral argument and cutting us off at the pass. So at some point, I use the example of the French in the streets. At some point, the Caribbean countries are going to have to do that.
Barbados' ambassador to CARICOM, David Commission, is giving high marks to the heads of government meeting on the CARICOM single market and economy held recently in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, speaking at a press conference on Wednesday to provide a report on the summit, Commission said the decision by the heads to fully integrate the private sector and labor movement in the planning and decision-making structures of CARICOM was very important to the development of the region. He said if the heads plan to do some of the regional projects that are much needed to break out of economic dependency, they will need the investment and help from the private sector. He says part of the weakness of economic planning in the Caribbean before was that planning simply to governments, and he praised Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley for being the catalyst in and for the region, or for the decision.
Me, perhaps the key decision taken at that conference was the decision of the heads of government that henceforth the Caribbean private sector and the Caribbean labor movement are going to be fully integrated into virtually all of the planning and decision-making structures of the Caribbean community, and that this is going to be concretized at the highest level of our community arrangements by making the Caribbean Congress of Labor and a representative body of the Caribbean private or business sector into associate institutions of the Caribbean community. So it has been agreed that the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas will be amended to provide for the representative body of Caribbean labor, that is the Caribbean Congress of Labor, and a new representative body of the Caribbean private sector as associate institutions of CARICOM.
Return for
And stay with us. More earthquakes rock the region. We have the details when we return.
Exceptional fun, meet amazing people, enjoy fantastic food, and rock the nights away to world-class music at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 3 nights of musical entertainment from the 27th to the 29th of June 2019. Book now and save the date. For more information, log on to stkittsmusicfestival.com.
Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort, no more ups with water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
Several Caribbean islands were rocked by earthquakes during a 6-hour period during Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. Now, according to the Trinidad-based Seismic Research Center, there was no immediate damage or injuries as a result of the quakes, but terrified residents in Dominica and some other islands reported being shaken by the tremors. Now, some people took to social media to relive the experience. Now, the first quake with a magnitude of 4.0 occurred at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night and was felt in Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda and the French island of Guadeloupe. It was located at latitude 16.74 north, longitude 59.58 west, and a depth of 10 kilometers. Dominica and Guadeloupe were also rocked by another earthquake 17 minutes later that also affected Martinique. That quake occurred at 9:17 p.m. with a magnitude of 3.7. It was also felt 11 kilometers northeast of Roseau, 89 kilometers northwest of Fort-de-France, Martinique, and 100 kilometers southeast of Pointe-à-Pitre, Guadeloupe. Now, the third earthquake recorded by the SRC occurred early Wednesday morning and had a magnitude of 4.0. The SRC said that the quake, which occurred at 3:05 a.m. local time, was felt in Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Lucia. Earlier this week, the head of the SRC, Dr. Joan Lutchman, reiterated a call for the region to be prepared for a major earthquake, as several parts of the Caribbean were jolted by earth tremors last weekend. Over the weekend, the SRC said that a burst of 54 earthquakes occurred north of St. Kitts during a 21-hour period. The biggest had a magnitude of 4.1. Lutchman, who has for months now been warning that the Caribbean is long overdue for a big one, said that several tremors have since been recorded following the weekend activities. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley Wednesday said he would not be rushed into making any decision regarding the future of embattled Chief Justice Ivor Archie. His statement came after the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago Tuesday night agreed to send him a report of alleged misconduct against Archie that could possibly begin the process of having him removed from office. Now, opposition legislator Rudal Munilal had asked Prime Minister Rowley to indicate his course of action in relation to the request by the Law Association to consider triggering Section 137 of the Constitution that begins the process of impeaching Archie. Rowley acknowledged that the issue is a serious constitutional matter, but he insisted that he was not prepared to make any pronouncement on the issue based on the information in the public domain, as he had no intention of running the business of the country in that manner. The LATT President's Senior Counsel Douglas Mendez emerged from the closed-door meeting to tell reporters that the membership had agreed by a margin of 150 to 32 to send the report, and they would ask Prime Minister Rowley to use the findings of the report to consider whether Section 137 of the Constitution can be triggered to establish a tribunal to investigate the allegations against Archie. Guyana's President David Granger has returned home from Cuba after undergoing another round of treatment for non-Hodgkin lymphoma. A statement from the Office of the President said he returned on Tuesday night after completing the second round of medical treatment and evaluation in Havana. Now, according to the statement, the Cuban team of specialists had reiterated their complete satisfaction with the President's response to medical treatment and explained that they would continue to monitor his progress in the coming weeks. And still in Guyana, Minister of State Joseph Harmon is predicting that the opposition will fail in its attempt to have Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu vacate his seat in the National Assembly while performing the duties of president. And he described the argument being put forward by the opposition as a nuisance application. We get more in this HGP Nightly News report.
Joseph Harmon is forecasting that the opposition will be unsuccessful in their attempt to have Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu vacate his seat in the National Assembly while performing the duties of president.
I think that the argument itself is a circuitous kind of argument. It is something which I believe the Speaker, once he checks very carefully at the precedents that are there, that he will find that this is just a nuisance application.
The opposition, through its Chief Whip Gail Teixeira, has written to the Speaker stating that the Prime Minister, in his capacity as acting president, should not be allowed to occupy his seat in the National Assembly. Minister Harmon explained on Tuesday that the Speaker has not read the contents of the letter to the House. He, however, shared this view.
But in a general sense, what I can say is that this is a matter which was ruled upon in the 10th Parliament. I think the matter went to court. There's a judgment by Ian Chang, who was the Chief Justice at the time. Mr. Raphael Trotman, who was the Speaker of the House at that time, has also made a ruling. And I think it will be difficult to overturn that quality of research and the judgment which was given in this House.
The opposition contends that in the 8th, 9th, and 10th Parliaments, in accordance with Articles 96.1 and 1781 and 4 of the Constitution of Guyana, whenever the head of state was abroad and the then Prime Minister Samuel Hines was carrying out the functions of the office of the President, Mr. Hines was not allowed to attend sittings or committee meetings of the National Assembly.
Given the very short time in which it was sent to me and the contents of the letter require more than just a very quick response. It is a letter to which I shall respond in due course later on this week.
The opposition threatens to challenge the matter in the courts if the Speaker rules to allow the Prime Minister to continue functioning as leader of government's business in the House while performing the duties of the President.
Belize has introduced a new gender protocol. Officials say it's part of a region-wide project on gender equality. More in this report.
A 5-year regional judicial reform initiative known as Jurist is working with court systems across the Caribbean to support efforts to improve administration and bolster the ability of the judiciary to dispense with cases efficiently and fairly. Part of that project is the launch of the Gender Equality Protocol for judicial officers.
A good starting point is a discussion on gender equality. We should first turn to the first preamble that appears in our Constitution. and it affirms the dignity of the human person and the equal and unalienable rights with which all persons of the human family are endowed by their Creator. That, of course, is the kernel of equality for all human beings.
Whereas it exists in the introductory explanation of the laws of Belize, the preamble goes on to require policies of state to do away with economic and social privileges and lack of equality among Belizeans.
Most relevantly, it states that the state is to ensure that there's gender equality. Those words actually appear in our Constitution. Accordingly, inasmuch as gender equality is about women's rights, it doesn't stop there. It also encompasses the rights accorded to every individual in the society as prescribed by that preamble.
For the established procedures to be most effective, there has to be synchronicity between the judiciary and the Ministry of Human Development. Judith Alpuche is the Chief Executive Officer.
I believe that these protocols will bring us even closer together between the Ministry and the judiciary. There's a lot of common ground and a lot of common goals and objectives. But now it's almost like a fashioning of a hymn sheet in a way, where we're speaking the same language and can better understand the other points of view.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, Guyana sees increased chances of qualifying for the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Stay with us. Sport is next.
What does the president want, Ambassador? What does President Trump? What is his end game?
Well, I don't know what in the world of everything what he wants. I do know that he wants to appoint good judges. And
I'm talking about in terms of the Mueller investigation. Let's stay here. What is he actually? What is the outcome that he's seeking? Because listen, he wasted no time letting Sessions go. I'm sure that letter was sitting in his desk for the last 6 months.
On this special Christmas edition of Caribbean Passport, we take in the sights and sounds of Believe, the Christmas edition. Stay tuned for it all right here on this station.
Guyana's Golden Jaguars have seen their hopes of qualifying for the CONCACAF Gold Cup increase after Barbados was slapped with sanctions for fielding 2 ineligible players. More in this HGP Sport report. Still in football, Jamaica striker Jamil Matt scored his 13th goal of the season as Newport County routed 10-man Wrexham 4-0 with a second-half blitz in the English FA Cup replay at Rodney Parade on Tuesday night. Matt's 59th minute strike came after Patriag Amond put the home side ahead in the 49th minute. After great work by Amond to keep the ball alive, Robbie Wilmot cut the ball back for 29-year-old Matt, and the striker had all the time in the world to guide his shot into the bottom corner and put his side in charge. Now Newport County stretched their lead when Mark Cantrington deflected an Almond strike into his own net in the 65th minute before Dan Butler rounded out the scoring in injury time. Wrexham, who play one tier below League Two outfit Newport County, had Luke Young sent off in the 12th minute for bringing down Mikey Dimitriou with a reckless challenge, but they kept their Welsh neighbours at bay until Almond broke the deadlock following a goalless draw in the first game. A crowd of 4,143 watched the game as Newport County sealed a lucrative third-round home tie against Premier League club Leicester City in the first week of January. A Jamaican swim sensation, Alia Atkinson, came just short of breaking her world-leading time of 28.56 seconds when she won the 50-meter breaststroke at the World Swimming Championship in Hangzhou on Wednesday. The world record holder stormed to victory in 29.05 seconds. This was Atkinson's first 50-meter gold after 3 World Championship silvers.
Good start across the board. Atkinson might have seemed like she got off to a little bit better start. She's in the green cap in the middle of the pool. Melatite right above her. 2 from the top is Miley. Takes her a while to get going. She doesn't have that raw speed as the other swimmers do.
She's going to need to find it here as Atkinson is set sail just down and back, and Atkinson leaving everybody in her wake, rolling to the title here. Melatite in second, Carrero third, and Miley is in fifth.
And members of the Jamaica Olympic Association remain in the dark about details of changes to the body's Act of Incorporation days ahead of a planned extraordinary meeting. TVJ's Simon Preston tells us more.
A copy of the 4-page notice of the meeting to members of the Jamaica Olympic Association, dated December 5, which was obtained by TVJ Sports, does not provide details of the proposed changes to the Articles of Incorporation. It, however, indicates that the Articles of Incorporation proposed by the Board of Directors of the GOA be and are hereby adopted and approved with immediate effect. Up to sports time, TVJ Sports was unable to get a comment from President of the JOA, Christopher Samuda, as to what the proposed changes were, as his cell phone went to voicemail. However, his assistant, who returned our call Monday afternoon, promised to relay our request for an interview on the matter. Checks by TVJ Sports revealed that under Section 138 of the Companies Act of Jamaica, a 75% majority of the members who are present in person or by proxy at the meeting is required to effect the changes of the Articles of Incorporation. It's understood that the extraordinary general meeting scheduled for December 20 will be the first time the entire membership will be meeting since the JOA election in June 2017.
And that's the sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Shower in the evening or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with solar dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort and no more upstream water touch you. Solar dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar dynamics is the one for you.
On this special Christmas edition of Caribbean Passport, we take in the sights and sounds of Believe, the Christmas edition. Stay tuned for it all right here on this station.
And that's Caribbean Newsline for News and Sports round the clock. Log on to CarnaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. Good night.